Good evening. Before we start this speech, I'd like to ask a few questions. Would you eat out of a toilet? More than likely not. Would you drink coffee to go to bed? No, caffeine usually keeps most people awake. Would you consider breasts sexual or functional? Well, the answer to that question could get you embarrassed in this forum. The purpose of my speech is to talk to everyone about breastfeeding in public. Now, breastfeeding is natural. Man has been doing it since we've been walking upright. Actually, women have been doing it. But there's a feeling that it's nasty. The women are being exhibitionists. Why can't they go to the bathroom and do that? I'm here to talk to you about changing your mind state about that. Because not doing it is actually putting the child in danger. There's intestinal problems, ear infections, a whole gambit of issues that the child could experience. So, the first thing I want to talk about is what I consider the yuck factor. Several places I've been, I've heard people say, well, she can go to the bathroom and nurse that baby. Well, these numbers are from the University of Arizona and the EPA. And they say that the bathroom is the nastiest place that you can be. In 1 square inch of an average bathroom is 32 million bacteria. This is the population of Los Angeles. On top of that, you have over 20 million nuclei of H1, possibly H1N1 virus that's expelled every time you flush. This geyser of muck is transported over 6 feet without ventilation. So while you're trying to feed this baby, you have fecal matter, viruses, bacteria landing on you. I don't want my son being fed in that environment. Would you? All right. So, we know the bathroom's nasty. Well, some people say, well, they can pump. Most pumps are electric. So, if there's no electrical outlet in the bathroom, how can they pump? On top of that, once they pump, if they have a manual pump, the breast milk is going to be contaminated with the same viruses that were in there before. So that's kind of a waste of time. And to top it all off, they just found out that the mother produces 2 types of milk a day. And the properties of the milk change as the baby grows. So, if the mother mixes up the milk and it's been stored for a while, the baby's not getting what it needs. And if you give a baby at nighttime some daytime milk, mom and daddy's going to have a really long night, which isn't good for the baby, which isn't good for the mother, which isn't good for anyone. Mothers have been kicked out of Babies R Us, a particular story that I heard of in Toronto, where a mother was testing a nursing chair by nursing her daughter. And she was told to leave. Why is that? There are laws in 49 states. The only one that doesn't have a law is West Virginia that says a mother can breastfeed her child in public. But people will say, oh, well, you can't do that. That offends me. Without thinking about the child. The last thing, and probably the most crucial thing that stops mothers from feeding in public, is looking at the breast as sexual. Now, men walk around with their shirts off. Some of us shouldn't. But We do. We cover our genitalia because that would be offensive. Why are women breasts considered to be just sexual organs when actually in most cultures they're considered the milk of life? The only cultures that prohibit women from feeding in public are Muslim cultures because of religious values, and Western cultures because breasts are sexual. A mother was kicked off of a Delta flight because she was nursing her child. The nursing, she tried to explain, was to help the inner pressure of the ear, the same way that adults chew gum, that you yawn. But babies can't do that. So she was breastfeeding in order to keep the baby calm so everybody else could have a nice flight. She got kicked off. On top of this, the most ridiculous thing that I found in my research is the fact that Facebook is banning photos like these. Art photos. Mothers breastfeeding. I've seen more exposed breasts in women's clothing at nightclubs than I've seen in some of those photos. But they're repeatedly being banned. One lady's picture had been banned 3 times. So, in conclusion, we have the yuck factor. We have the fact that breast milk needs to be drank when it's expressed, when it comes out of the mother, in order to get the nutritional and purpose values of the milk. And we have the need to change our mind state about the essential purpose of breasts instead of thinking of them as a right. I want you to think about this as you go to bed and you go home, that breastfeeding is natural. We breathe, we sneeze, we eat. Breastfeeding should be just as natural in our minds as those things. And mothers should be allowed to do that without harassment and encouraged, because I've never heard of a baby, and I haven't found in my research, that a baby had intestinal problems from breastfeeding. They don't have high iron and low iron breast milk. So it's the perfect thing for the child. So next time, if you have a problem with a woman breastfeeding, you see her, think, are you upset because it offends your barriers or are you just putting yourself before the well-being of that child? I appreciate y'all time. Thank you.